and welcome back to Rise and Align, where we talk about all things high vibrational. We are your hosts, Demi and
Halie. Today we are going to let it flow. This episode's all about what it means to flow and, get into that flow state. So before we get started, I invite you all to take a deep breath, maybe close your eyes, kind of take inventory of how you feel. If you have any tension or pain, discomfort in your body, taking another inhale, and on your exhale, just letting it all go. Just coming into the present moment. Thank you guys for being here. So, as I said, we're going to get started talking about flow today.
So the first thing that I think about when I think about flow is naturally water. And I think about the way that water is able to move around rocks and curves and bumps and trees and really form into anything it's put in. And I think that that is such a beautiful representation of how life feels when you're in that flow state. So outside of you, anything can be happening, and it can be something that might seem contrasting, but you can maintain flow through those circumstances. So when you do that, instead of the situation being like really hard to move around, like a rock hitting a rock, you're able to feel it and move through it and continue flowing with life. And I think that really just opens the doors to so many opportunities when you kind of just let go and allow yourself to flow.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I love to think about Abraham Hicks. She talks about floating down the river of life, and how when you're trying to control, you're paddling upstream.
Yeah, that's exactly what comes to mind for me as well. When you're flowing down this river, and if you don't surrender to the flow, if you don't allow yourself to flow down this river of life, instead you're pushing upstream, that feels very hard. It's difficult, it's exhausting, it's confusing, and I just think that's kind of symbolic of, if you're not like allowing the flow in your life, you're resisting it, you're creating a lot of resistance and tension. And if you do surrender to the flow, you're navigating down this river, things begin to feel a little bit easier. Of course, you're still going to face challenges. You're going to, maybe you'll come across a dam, or there's a big rock you have to navigate around. There's still things that you're going to have to navigate in this stream of life. But when you're flowing and you're not resisting these things, it does just become easier.
I think that too, like the waves of life and the emotions of life are a great representation for the way that water has waves that flow through it, but it's this massive, it could be like an ocean, but the waves are just the tiny little emotions. And if you avoid feeling those emotions, then you push up against them, you clash, and it makes it worse. But if you just allow yourself to feel and just flow and to release those and surrender to that feeling, then that's how you get past it. That's how you move through it. And then, it's always going to crest again and it's always going to drop again. I just think that's such a beautiful representation.
Yeah, absolutely. Would ebb and flow with life. I feel like, to me, being in flow or living in flow almost becomes kind of like a meditative state, or like a very like focused state, where you kind of let down the egoic walls. You let go of the attachment of who you are, what life means around you. You kind of let that go, and you begin to let go of the control, and you can allow life to happen to you.
I think that self-discipline is wonderful, and it's maybe even needed to And I say maintain lightly because, like I said, waves, but to maintain the flow state. But that said, I think that you have to allow yourself to have days and moments and stuff where you're just present and allowing whatever to unfold that's meant to unfold. Because when you have like a 24/7 schedule, and then suddenly for some reason you have a day off, it can feel like almost like you're lost, like confused, like, and then the anxiety hits, like, what should I be doing? Should.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to just be. And I find that when I don't have anything planned and I don't know what I'm going to go do or anything, and I just let the day unfold, it ends up being the most magical day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so necessary to plan that time where you can just flow, where you can just allow, where you can just see what happens, because it allows the magic back into life.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. And it allows you to be more present, and you get to find what feels good in the moment. You're not forcing yourself to do a certain task. You're not, you're not doing something because you have to. You're doing something because you want to. And when you're doing things that you want to do, you're naturally going to become more present because you're happy and excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about like finding our highest excitement, but when you're living in flow, you're listening to your higher self or the universe.
Your intuition.
You're allowing those messages to come through of what you should do. You might have this random thought of like, oh, I should go here and get coffee. And then, just something crazy could happen, like you meet someone that leads to a job opportunity. If you're not listening to those signs or those feelings, you do kind of get the sense of being lost, because you kind of get disconnected from your purpose or why you're here and that like universal connection. I think it's Teal Swan, she talks about being in flow as like you're tapped into your soul's current and the universe's current. And the most important thing is like finding your joy, your happiness, because when you are doing that, you are in flow with your soul and with the universe. And when you are giving yourself time to listen to what your inner self is telling you and guiding you to do, that allows you to live more in flow.
And it feels good. It feels easy. It feels meant to be, actually. It feels aligned.
Yeah.
I think, too, it's so important to learn to spend time alone, to recharge and to kind of tap back into your own intuition, because energy is so contagious. So if you are one of those people who feels like they're anxious when they're alone, you should be spending time alone even more. And you'll start to realize that the decisions you make when you get to know yourself and you trust yourself and you love yourself and you spend that time alone are so much more aligned with your soul than if you are spending time around other people constantly and taking into account like their opinions and allowing that to change your own mind, because they can't feel what's right for your soul. Only you can. Like, only you are the center of your world and your life and your own existence.
Yeah, it is so important to have an idea of what you want. You can't control the circumstances, and going with the flow is actually the opposite, like surrendering. But having that idea of what you want and knowing who you are and having that understanding allows you to make decisions that are in flow, that are in alignment. And then you start to kind of gain momentum down the stream. That's when you start to let go of the resistance and you can begin to start flowing down your stream of life. And I also like to think of it as we all have our own streams, our own river. Just like Earth, there's rivers everywhere. They all take a different path and they're made up of different material, and they all lead to one source. So we all kind of have our own path and our own purpose, and we're all connected to the same thing. We're all connected to source.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that it's easy to judge, forgetting that there must be infinite possibilities. So there have to be like infinite things happening and personalities existing. And so, of course, other people, probably everybody, will have a different opinion than you on something or everything or nothing. Like, no, it's rare that, no, that's not what I meant. Not nothing. No, you'll never find anybody exactly like you. So I think it's really beautiful to like have that recognition that everybody has their own flow or their own stream, but yet we are all one, you know, and to be able to recognize the differences in other people while still loving them unconditionally and accepting them is like the best feeling in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you are living in flow, your reality becomes more meaningful and you're more present. And I think time begins to look different when you're in flow.
I think so too.
I think that can have more time. I think that you create more time when you're in alignment and when you're in flow.
I love that you said it looks different, because to me, I was like, I think it's becomes more valuable time when you're present and intentional.
You're not distracted and you're not focused on things that don't matter. You're aligned with what actually matters most to you and why you're here. And when you're making decisions in flow, when you're living in flow, you're almost like you're living in this joyous meditative state. In Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about a moving meditation where you're living, but you're almost in a constant state of meditation. And I feel like that's kind of what being in flow is. And when you are in this meditative state, you're able to kind of pull yourself out of the 3D, out of this time-based reality, and you become a part of the unified field. You become part of a different universe where time doesn't exist. All of the time-space realities are here now.
Yes.
So you can access different dimensions. And time quite literally stops. Like, it does expand because you're in a space where we're not in a universe where time is not infinite. We have infinite space, but not infinite time. You enter a space where there's infinite time and you can access any space.
Yes, I 100% agree. The concept of time being a limited thing is a human concept because we believe that the life begins and ends. but when you get into the state and the frequency of who you truly are, you're able to feel that time is indeed an illusion. And like you said, it can allow you then to open up to any timeline you can dream
possibilities.
of. Yeah, infinite possibilities and infinite abundance and infinite freedom and ease and
creativity, joy.
Yes. You navigate through any contrast a million times easier.
Yes. When you know that, when you've tapped into that, the external challenges don't impact you the way that they did before because you have this inner knowing and this inner sense of peace and joy and
that everything
safety
is always going to be okay no matter what. And it's like it's partially the concept of like, well, any contrast occurring in the physical is an illusion, but it's also the appreciation of getting to feel it because it's precious and it is valuable
and it's expansive. People are able to more easily get in their flow state when they are being creative. So I see that being in flow is being very creative. It's actually very much so tapping into your feminine energy.
It's like that magical serendipitous feeling where like everything just keeps working out for you. Like you wake up, it's a beautiful sunny day, your cup of coffee's perfect, you go outside and there's butterflies flying around, it smells like flowers, and then you meet somebody who, I don't know, gives you a flower or like gives you something special, and magical things are happening all day, and you get a t-shirt for free, and everything just keeps getting better and better and better until you fall back asleep. And it's like, I didn't even know it could get that good. but it keeps getting
love that.
better.
Yes, I love that. And it kind of, it makes me think of like synchronicities.
Yeah.
I see, synchronicities as the universe communicating with you that you are, in alignment with your soul's current and the universal current and where you're supposed to be. And magical things begin to happen like that.
It is the reality reflecting back to you your own energetic frequency.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that your reality reflects how you feel. You can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You feel so happy and joyous and easy, and then the reality just keeps reflecting it
Mm-hmm.
because you align with that vibration. So of course everything near you is going to be
Mm-hmm.
of that frequency.
And that's why it's so important to notice how you feel.
Yes.
And use that as your guidance system. I mean, we've kind of talked about it before, but when you're feeling, negative or resistance or tension, even in your body, you can even think about, how you're feeling in your body. That is you being disconnected from your true highest self and your purpose, and you're disconnected from the universe. You're stuck.
You're literally disconnected from your body, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Even, and your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. You're disconnected from your intuition.
When you're feeling those things, that's like your message to change it up. Like that's not serving you. Like whatever you're doing is not serving you or where you're meant to be. You're not in alignment with what you really want. And when you start doing things that make you feel good, like that is your sign. That's that you should be reason. I feel like the reason we feel is because, and have emotions about things, is because it is our guidance system.
Yes.
Like it tells us where we're supposed to be. It's like our navigator.
It is. I was going to say too, if you ever are struggling with a decision or a question, 1, get into alignment first, and 2, consider how the 2 different or however many options there are, consider how they feel, like visualize them and think about the outcomes and how that makes you feel. And you will know by how it feels what's right or wrong for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. And that can be a practice because a lot of us have been very disconnected from our feelings and from our body for a long time. I feel like in our society, we are kind of trained to be so focused on, external things and pleasing others. And we might not really know what we're feeling. We might even be so disconnected from our bodies that we don't realize we feel a certain way in our bodies, that we're actually in pain or we have tension in certain places. So it is a practice to get back in touch with your intuition. It is a practice to, begin to identify what certain feelings are. So I just think it's important to do things that you're creating space to allow yourself to be more introspective, so you can start to understand yourself better. And in doing that, you're also able to better create like boundaries and stuff too,
Mm-hmm.
because when something feels bad to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you can kind of create a boundary around that thing. But we talk about these things a lot, but yoga is a great way, and journaling and being out in nature, spending time alone, doing something that is your like creative outlet. There's so many different things that you can do. It can be sports, it can be art. There's so many different outlets, but
anything that makes you feel aligned,
mm-hmm.
which is why we started this whole podcast
Mm-hmm.
with alignment, because doing those things, and that's why I said that being in a flow state is such a balance between self-discipline and making sure that you have the time to be creative and
mm-hmm.
to be by yourself and to get in touch with who you truly are.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're doing those things that make you feel aligned, you have to do it in a self-disciplined way. Like you have to make sure that you are doing those things and not let yourself fall out of that.
Mm-hmm. But in a way that's flowy and
yes.
surrendery.
yes. Not in a hard, like not in a too hardcore, like an intuitive
mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
She's teaching me. It's rubbing off.
Yes. That's good. Also, so doing things that, connect you to your divine feminine energy, because I see the element of water as being a very feminine energy. And when you're in your feminine energy, you are surrendering to the flow, And so just doing things that allow you to tap into that energy too. And men and women have feminine energy that they tap into. It's not like you're a female, so you have to be in your feminine energy. We have a balance between both. Everyone does. But doing things that allow you to tap into that feminine energy, because our society has trained us to be so in our masculine and force and control and 9 to 5 and, have that strict schedule and feel guilty if you don't follow it. That is not at all what being in the flow is.
And I was going to say too, I think that self-discipline comes from a more masculine energy. Like I feel like when I allow myself, like, because I'm a full-time mom, but only every other week. So on my weeks off lately, I used to be really strict. I would do the same thing as I did when I had my son. I would wake up at 5 a.m. and do yoga immediately. And those are wonderful practices, but it's okay to allow yourself, if you're tired, to sleep in, or allow yourself to go outside before you work, or take a day off, or it is okay to Netflix and chill once in a while, actually. And I would never, ever allow myself to do those things. And now that I do, and I'm just kind of letting myself be free and literally follow the flow, just follow what feels best for me that day. I'm still getting stuff done. I'm getting plenty done. I'm spending time with my friends and family. I'm spending time alone, and I'm happy as can be.
You're actually more productive when you're in flow. You are. Yes, you're more productive. Flow
state makes you
and
so
I have a similar experience with like my yoga teacher training. I had it in my head that if I was a yoga teacher, like I had to do this much time of practice each day, and like if I don't, like I'm a bad yoga teacher. And that's the opposite of the truth. I've learned from so many other mentors and yoga instructors that don't have a strict practice, and sometimes their practice is sitting on your mat for 5 minutes and taking some deep breaths, and it looks different every single day, and you don't have to practice every single day. That's okay. I felt pressure that I had to practice every single day. It had to be like an hour or more, and but that's not it at all. Yoga has taught me that more than anything is like doing what feels good to you and not forcing. But again, one of the major philosophies in yoga is self-discipline. So also, not letting it get too far one way or the other.
Balance. It's everything.
And yoga teaches me that too.
Yes.
I just love yoga so much.
Me too. I can say the exact same about everything you just said. Exactly. This is why it's so important. Yes. That's why our second episode was yoga.
Yes. And so when I accepted that it's okay to not have this strict practice, I've been able to get deeper into my practice and get into deeper meditative states and to be more creative with my flows. And because I'm not forcing myself, I'm not like, this is something you have to do. You have to go and do this, and it has to be this. Like, I just have been able to surrender to my practice instead of force my practice. And it's been so good. Like, I can't even tell you.
Surrender to your practice. Wow. I love that. Yes. I was going to say the same thing. It's a surrendering. And it teaches you to allow, which is, you need to carry that into your life as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Along this topic, just thinking about the element of water, we are little witches as well. So we work with the 4 elements, and we do use astrology, and water is an element in astrology. So I think it's kind of important to kind of talk about what water represents. We pulled an oracle card before this, and it reinforced the idea that water does kind of represent the subconscious mind, and which makes sense because Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer are water signs, and they are intuitive, and Scorpio does encourage you to explore the depths of your shadows, your subconscious mind.
Your subconscious mind is your emotional mind as well.
Yeah. So water is very symbolic of your emotions, and highlighting the importance of flowing through your emotions, letting your emotions flow through you and not getting stuck on them, not harboring them inside, but letting them flow through you.
Yes. Or trying to push them away, because like everything, there must be balance. And I think that you can detach too much, and then it hasn't actually detached from you. It does the opposite.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
so you have to allow and flow through that.
Mm-hmm. And you think about water, like stagnant water.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to, put your feet in that. You don't want to. It usually kind of stinks a little bit. There's stuff in there. Like you have to
recycle it.
Yes, and you have to there's got to be waves. It's got to flow. It becomes stagnant if you don't let your life flow.
Yes.
I think it's super important to think about that, and to, again, talking about this idea of noticing how you feel. Don't be afraid of your emotions, and doing things that allow you to process your emotions and work through your emotions, and not to judge yourself for them, but to have even more compassion for yourself and more understanding for yourself, but also knowing that you can move through them and flow through them.
I think that non-judgment is so important, and the unconditional love part of that, I think, really helps me to flow,
Mm-hmm.
because you can get stuck in a negative emotion by judging yourself for what you've done, and that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't help. That doesn't help you move through it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just allowing yourself, and you might even say, well, I'm a new version of me, but I loved that version of me too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's so important. And it's waves, like you have the ups and downs, and that's normal. That's part of life and part of nature and part of the flow.
Russ made a song called Waves, and it's about that exact concept. It's so good. Check that out.
Yes.
Shout out.
Yes.
He doesn't know it, but he's one of our soulmates.
Can he sponsor us?
Right.
We would love to have you. Okay, you guys. That was really
blue.
good.
It's literally perfect for today's episode.
Yes, so we're pulling our message for you today, and I was telling Demi this, but this deck went missing for a year. I didn't know where it was, and it has reappeared back into my life. So I feel like it has some messages that we need to talk about. So it is the Starseed Oracle. It's absolutely stunning, and if you haven't listened to our tarot episode, we go into this a little bit, but oracle cards are a little different from tarot cards in that they don't have as rigid of, it doesn't have specific suits and stuff as tarot cards would, but it will give us a message in a similar way that tarot would.
I love these. If you have ever resonated with anything to do with star seeds, you will love them too.
Okay, so the card that came out for us is Loosen Your Grip. And the main themes are coping mechanisms, density, addiction, and let God in.
Oh, I've been getting that message a lot lately, actually. Let God in, let go and let God. It looks like they are just surrendering. They're allowing themselves to fall.
They are, yes. Okay, if you are on Spotify or YouTube, you should be able to see the video. I do have the card on the screen. I will look and see what the message is, but this is a good time for you, to maybe grab a journal, and once we finish up here, you can have some of that introspective time where you can, maybe explore what this means for you. So this is the message. We are cyclic beings, and Mother Earth teaches us how to be human every day with the coming and going of the tides and the seasons. If you're clinging to anything, you're resisting the natural flow of who you are. The things we cling to are so often those we most need to let go of. The food, the substances, the relationship, the job, the people pleasing. The things we cling to often cover up our most vulnerable space, the part we're most afraid to leave empty, the part we guard and don't let grace into. But by keeping that space covered with something that doesn't serve us or clinging to it for fear of it not staying of its own accord, we prevent ourselves from receiving the good. We prevent ourselves from receiving the things that will. A Course in Miracles tells us, whatever we leave empty, grace will fill. And the Buddha said, you can only lose what you cling to. Indeed, both are true. If this card appears, you're being called to find the courage to loosen your grip and give up control, to release your coping mechanisms and leave space for grace and God to enter, to surrender all that feels dense to the divine. Loosening your grip doesn't mean that what you're clinging to will go away. It may, or it might stay, but you can be sure that what is for you will find you, and you'll breathe easier knowing that you've shifted from relying on your own strength to surrendering to the grace of life.
So good. So good.
I swear these always reinforce.
Yeah, I absolutely love that deck too.
Yes.
So good.
Surrender, you guys.
That's the perfect thing. When you're holding on to those heavy things, you're sinking. Let go and you'll float. You'll float. Oh, well, thank you for joining us. We love you as always. Thank you for helping raise the frequency.
Yes. If you guys are listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, we would love if you rated this podcast. You can find us on social media. We would love to talk more with you and continue growing this amazing community. And with that, we will see you guys next time.